there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see. All right, we're live here. So, Kyle, thanks for hopping on, man. I appreciate it. I know on TikTok, me and you have gone back and forth a bunch of times trying to connect. And for anyone watching this, we're going to be doing a very similar conversation again tomorrow night on at Sober Dogs' YouTube channel. So be sure to check that out tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, Kyle, one of the things we've talked about back and forth is nicotine and nicotine addiction. Why would you mind giving viewers like a little bit of a background who don't know you, like just a little bit of background about yourself and now how you're just kind of left over with this nicotine thing, which is, would you mind doing that?
No, not at all. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. So I was an addict for, I still am, but for years, specifically heroin and cocaine were, the drugs that landed me in prison and hit my bottom with all that. Like I said, they did get me to prison, a lot of other tough consequences and, repercussions of that. Since then, I've been doing great. Got out of prison, obviously got sober, got off everything with the exception of nicotine would be kind of the one that hangs around. But, and then as far as Sober Dogs, it was just something I started to help myself, but also help others. I kind of hid from my past for a while and I'd see people at the store. They'd be like, "How you doing?" And like, I didn't want to be like, "Oh, I'm 2 weeks sober. I'm freaking out. I live with my parents and I just got out of prison." And they're telling me about, their son. He's great. He's married. He's got 2 kids. So I was like, I might as well just share it, get it all out there and see, what can come of it. And it's been great for a couple of years now. I'd say what I still struggle with daily, obviously I got to work on my recovery every day, but I still use a heavy amount of nicotine. And there's some other stuff I know, like specifically you do a lot of awesome content on, such as like pre-workout, things like that I go back and forth, I take, but I am trying to, do things better, healthier, natural, so to speak.
So I picked some odd things. The first time I was in like a recovery meeting, people were there and they're like, "Oh, going around, what are you here for? What are you here for?" And I'm like, "Oh, nicotine, weed, and energy drinks." And they looked at me like people like, and they attacked me, which I expected. But, at the end of the conversation, I was like, "Hey, it's not that different. Listen, like my health is falling apart. Financially, this is having a significant impact on me. I've broken up with several individuals over this, like female relationships I've had. They didn't want me chewing tobacco all the time. And so I was like, look, it's a real addiction. Like, and, nicotine, obviously, if we're talking cigarettes, it kills a lot of people every single year, hundreds of thousands. So nonetheless, man, so tell people, how much nicotine is it? So let's go through this a little bit. How much nicotine is it that you use? I'm going to do my best to talk to you about nicotine and see if we can get it. See if we can get anywhere. How much do you use during the course of the day? What is it that you use?
So my big source, the big thing is I chew, just like you mentioned a minute ago. I chew. I'd say I have probably 5 chews a day. So maybe close to a can a day. With the size I use. And then what kind of bothers me about it is in between, I'm vaping all day long, and all night too. With vape, I have gone from, I was originally doing 35, I don't know what the exact terminology is, the 35 milligram juice, if that's how it is. I'm down to 3. Now, like the lowest that the store possibly offers. So I've slowly been going down, but the chew I know is going to be the harder one for me because I've ingrained it in so many habits, every time I take a shower, I got one in. First thing I do when I get to work, first thing I do when I get out of the gym. And it's like, I look forward to it. And the vape is more the one I don't like, and I would love to just say bye tomorrow. The chew I can actually say I enjoy.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, I trust me, I understand. I chewed tobacco for a very long time. I felt the same. I would do skull mint pouches. That was my go-to
Okay.
thing, and
Yep.
it was, like you said, ingrained in every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about the vape then. Let's start there. So tell me a little bit, why is it that you want to quit vaping? Why is it that you're interested in quitting that?
So I get terrible dry mouth from it. It's attached to me like that. They say people have their cell phone as like a second part of their body. To me, that's the vape. That thing is in my hand all the time, and I'll notice it if I'm making a video or something. Like, you can't even put that down for a minute. It's that part of it bothers me more, I guess, of how much of a slave I am to it. But the dry mouth, and also, like, I don't know if this would classify as a mini nicotine overdose, but there's been many times, not so much now that I've gotten on the lower juice, but when I was using the higher juice, where I would take a chew out and then hit my vape a couple times, and then I would get dizzy. My eyes would start getting like almost like used to happen during heroin addiction with the knot out. I'd start sweating, and whatever I was doing, I would have to stop for 10 minutes and just kind of like come down, almost, so to speak, from this excess nicotine. And it's just, I don't know. I don't. The vape to me was like, I did smoke cigarettes for a while, and I transitioned to the vape.
Yeah.
But both the cigs and the vape were never something that I enjoyed like the chew. The chew I enjoyed, watched TV, played video games, whatever. The vape and the cigs were almost like I incorporated them so much in my addiction, they just carried over.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So why is it so okay, so you want to quit, you don't like the dry mouth, you don't like having this thing on you all the time. I assume to some extent there's a financial commitment to it as well too,
For
going through
sure.
that much of it.
Of course.
Why is it that you continue using the vape? So why is it like you have the dip, like you have chewing tobacco, you use the vape to quit cigarettes. So like why continue with the vape? What is that? Why keep doing it? Like what does that you explained dip to me. You said like, okay, I enjoy
Yeah.
this. I enjoy this during a movie. Why the vape? Why keep going with that? What is it that you enjoy about it?
It, it's more to me of I've literally thrown my vape out the window multiple times, and what I would do the following day is chew more, and then because of that, my gums would hurt more. Um, I just I was like, oh, that I'm just doubling up on the other tobacco. That's not good. And then I would have a couple hours of where there's just random gaps during the day where I don't vape for. I work at a restaurant, so I can't
Yeah.
chew there, and the vape I can go outside and hit. But now that I couldn't do either for that gap, I was like freaking out. And I know that if I could get past probably the fourth or fifth day, maybe not even, where those, that kind of misery comes in for a couple hours when you don't have nicotine, that I'd be good. But I've never made it to that point. I've done like 2 days and then somehow went and bought another one or gave in. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean that is the ultimate question. Why? You know, it's a good one, and I also think there's a lot of a coping mechanism. In New York State prison, they sell you tobacco. You're allowed to smoke and chew. I really honed in on that for coping in there. So I also associate the vape, all of that, with like, I'm going to take a couple, take a hit of it. That's calm down. All that kind of the back end of it that we don't really think about, ingrained in the in our kind of psyche, so to speak.
In the process of it all.
Yeah.
Okay. In the past, when you've quit, what's been your most success with quitting vaping?
Like 2 days, roughly.
2 days. And what did you do for those 2 days when you got through 2 days? What did you do through those 2 days?
I definitely probably chewed a little bit extra, but and even with that, real quick, what I started doing a while back, I've been doing it for probably 7 or 8 months now, is I buy this fake chew, the Jake's Mint stuff, which is just plants. It's intended for people to quit, and I mix that with my regular stuff, so it's not full. It's like kind of watered down a little bit. So I did during the couple days I quit. I did chew a little bit more, but I also had gum, a couple suckers, candies, and stuff, and that does seem to work pretty well. It definitely helps me with the I know people always give me shit, or I'm sure you do. Too.
No.
With the oral fixation.
Sure.
The habit of just the way it says. People always associate that with some sexual thing, but
Sure. No.
It's a habit of
It's
smoking it, or the cigarette, or even the chew. So the candy or the gum kind of helps, keep that going. The act of it, where I would go like this and either hit the vape 20 times, 30 times a day. Now that I have gum in it, helps with that.
Okay. So that's what's gotten you through. So why not just extend the gum usage to day 4 or day 5 or day 6 or day 7 or day 10 or day 20?
Great question.
That's all right. No.
Yeah.
That's all right. My job is to fuck with people a little bit when I do this. That's what I like.
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
All right. So just a thought. Okay. Do you have any intention of quitting chewing tobacco or no?
Not really right now.
It's okay. That's all right. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Just the vape. That's the only thing you want to quit. All right.
I kind of take it, one thing at a time. Like I knew when I was trying to put cigarettes down, like, let me focus on this right now, and then I'll do the vape or the chew in the future.
I get
to
it.
me, that works better. Yeah.
Yeah. No. That's fine. It looks different for everyone, how they go about it. I'm going to switch topics here. So when you got sober from everything else, and then I'll bring this all back around, how did you wind up getting sober? Was it prison that got you sober, or was it what got you what led to your sobriety? What were the big factors that led to that initial sobriety? Obviously, you're continuing that on now, but what were the initial factors that led to that?
It was a combination of getting rearrested. I had a phone call with my parents when I was back in jail where I never thought I'd be. And the phone call with them was, their tone of voice was something different than I had never heard. That, being back in jail, having 4 months prior of just ripping and running from when I got released from prison to when I got rearrested, all that chaos, all of it culminated kind of in that phone call. And it was, for people who follow it or believe in it, that rock bottom moment where I was like, I've had enough. I have to try a different way. I have to try something different. And I was sentenced to Willard, which is the prison boot camp in New York State, which was actually phenomenal for me. So that gave me a couple months of structure. And then I tried 12-step when I got out, and kind of a combination of all the chaos and everything. I finally wanted to be a different person and try something I've never tried before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then that was it. That was the start of it.
Exactly. And, I did have, a couple relapses after that, but they were short. And, I got right back on track, which was unique for me. In the past, a relapse would end in, forcefully somebody else had to end it for me, a police officer or something like that. But these times it was a couple days, and I voluntarily stopped and went right back to my meetings and told the truth. And I really wanted it. I really wanted the sobriety.
How would you be a different person, if at all, do you think, if you quit vaping? If you cut that out of your life, how would that immediately impact you?
Immediately.
Yeah, like over the next next few weeks, next few months. Like let's take out like the withdrawals or the annoyances of it. Let's take that out. But big picture, if you saw yourself not vaping, how would that change you? Like how would that change you as a person?
I believe I'd have more energy. It definitely is an energy sucker to me, to an extent.
How does it take out your energy? In what way?
It is always, if I take 4 or 5 hits of that at any point in time, I get like a 20-minute just a little kind of overload of
Yeah.
nicotine, and that can drag out for 30, 40, 50 minutes sometimes. And then what usually ends up happening is by minute, let's say 35, when I'm starting to feel a little bit better, I hit the thing again, and it can start the process. Then include that with the dry mouth, and it's like, without that, I know it would be more energy. It would mentally free up my mind a little bit from not having, another leash, another thing that is keeping me tied up every day. And of course, financially, it is, every penny counts. I work at a restaurant making what a restaurant worker makes.
Sure.
I'm not,
No, it's good. Speaking of which, are you stopping at the restaurant or are you still going at the restaurant?
At about a week and a half, I'm done.
And you're doing this full time, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. Yep.
That's the goal. Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So that's a big change. That's
Huge.
a big change. That's a huge change. That's interesting. So the thing that I would say, why I would think vaping would piss someone off like you so much is because of the fact that you like to see massive change, right? Going from where you went, like prison, addiction, this, that. And then you said one day, I woke up, I want to see what a different version of me looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, like you did it and you're continuing to do it. And I see you doing it like every day on TikTok. And then you say, I saw just this the other day too on TikTok. Boom, I'm going to make another change. I want to see what I'm capable of if I'm not tied down to the restaurant. I just want to see what I can pull off if I have that extra time and that extra energy, which obviously, as everyone should, you must have a lot of faith in yourself to be able to do that. Like I got a lot of faith in myself. Obviously, I have a lot of faith in, I think, anyone who's overcome any type of addiction, even if they still got some, if they overcame one, that's a huge feat. Sure. So I would think that vaping would be an particularly draining process for you. Because that energy, like, what are you going to do when you quit the restaurant? Where's that energy and that time going to go into? Is that going to go into more YouTube videos and stuff like that?
Yeah, YouTube videos, articles, content of all types.
And the other thing that you pointed out too was you said was really good for you after you got arrested, the structure that you had in one of the facilities. And the scary thing is and I dealt with this when I first started in my stuff, like when you're 100% for yourself, there's no structure. Yeah. So I would spend a majority of my early days literally just getting Nick sick every single day. Like I get this anxiety. I'd freeze up like, oh my God, I'm not going to have money. I'm not going to have clients. I'm not going to have this. I'm not going to have that. And then I would spend probably 3 to 4 hours every afternoon just overdosing essentially on nicotine to a point where I'd have to I get sick, then I'd have to sleep it off. So it's like midday. Here I am during a Monday afternoon sleeping. And then I'm waking up saying, why don't I have more clients? Why can't I get traction going? Why can't I get things? And obviously you're a motivated person. I was a motivated person. I wasn't a chump. I wasn't, smart guy. I just couldn't get past that. And it's amazing what happened with that more energy. So it's interesting. Yeah,
Ooh, I can relate to that big time.
right. So like, I'd be so freaking curious to watch what happens with that more energy. Now, the tricky thing though about your case, which is nothing I can do, is nothing anyone can do, is you have essentially the drug is nicotine, right? Like at the end of the
Sure.
day, whether it's in a vape, nicotine salts are granted, they hit you harder for a briefer period of time, and then they leave your body faster too. Like dip is usually free-base nicotine. So that's probably why you're getting that like high and then that low and then going after that high again so intensely with the vape. But it's the same drug. So where it gets tricky in your case is um all the reasons why you want to quit vaping are probably similar things to that you get with dip, except you don't necessarily want to quit dip, which is fine, which is completely fine. But you probably won't quit chewing tobacco until you really want to, because that's what you said got you sober. Like you really wanted to change. Like anyone,
Yeah.
you have to want to do it
Sure.
at the end of the day. And I don't know where then your kind of rock bottom hits with nicotine. And maybe it doesn't hit because, like, some people don't really get that rock bottom. Like, some people don't get the health consequences. When I think of nicotine, I usually think of like health consequences.
Sure.
And typically, by the time someone's calling me with health consequences, they're in their like 40s to 60s. And the thing that I usually say is like, that's not like, had they quit when they were 50 or 55 or 59 and they got, sick when they were 60, it was too late. Like that process already
Yeah.
happened. So like rock bottom is a slow build with nicotine. That's what, like, you obviously were addicted to some other things. Like rock bottom, presumably there's always another level of bottom, which I've heard you say that before. But like I would assume with heroin and cocaine, like you can hit a bottom pretty fast, right? Like I would assume
Yeah.
like you can wind up in jail. You're not going to
Yep.
go to jail for chewing 10 times a day and
Yeah.
vaping. Like no one cares. No one, like
Yeah.
no one cares. So the question becomes like, what's going to get you to change that? I don't know what the answer would be, but I think it's going to be hard to quit vaping when you still have that drug present. I think because it's the same, it's the same drug. It's just a different version of it, which I'm all for, like harm reduction and going slow and all that stuff. And for some people, it does work. Like, they'll go from cigarettes to dip to vaping to Zen pouches to like nothing one day, maybe to
Yeah.
Nicorette. But you get
And
what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying?
I
It's the same, because I did that for a
totally
long time. Like
understand. Yeah.
cigarettes, and then I had disposable vapes. It was like the original blue. You probably
Yeah.
had those around, like the original blue disposables and
Yeah.
Enjoy disposables.
Yeah. Like more than a decade ago almost.
Yes. And
That
then
was a while.
yes, that was a while ago. And I remember, like, very similar to your situation, I was like, oh, I started it to quit chewing tobacco.
Yeah.
And then I just wound up vaping when I couldn't chew. And at this point, I was done with cigarettes, similar to you. Like that didn't really
Yeah.
interest me anymore. But anyways, so it's just, I don't know if that made sense. I kind of rambled there, but I think
No, that
I
makes perfect sense. And I was going to say, it's not so much that I don't want to quit chewing, and I have had health consequences from chewing. I have, specifically with the mouth,
sure.
and that scares the shit out of me. That is, I've seen my gums receding. I've gone to the dentist where she's told me, like, yeah, it's going to get worse. But my, so I definitely would like to not chew, but my view of the two is still different at this point in time.
Totally. Which is
Yeah.
fine. Which is fine. So I think the big thing is, and who knows, you might quit vaping and say, I'm liking this. And then you might just naturally start cutting back on the chew. Who knows how it plays out?
Yeah.
That could happen. It's funny too with the health stuff. A lot of people, like I had the same thing. I had scares in my gums.
Yeah.
And I think there was a period of time where I did quit for a little while after like one really big scare. But I remember going right back to it then eventually. Like
Crazy. Yeah.
and I always say, like, especially with nicotine, like that addiction is always stronger than the fear. And if anything, it's been proven that like tobacco companies, they like a lot of times the warning message that's given out, like, oh, this is going to make you sick. This is going to cause this, because that creates fear in people who use it. And then that fear just results in doing more of it because it makes you feel completely like there's stuff out there that shows like tobacco companies, one of their favorite messages is this is going to harm your health, especially to a population, let's say 25, 30 years old. Like it might positively impact when you look at literature on this. Someone in like 7th grade, 8th grade, 6th grade, they might say like, oh, that's bad. But the person who's like 30 and seriously addicted is going to say like, oh my God, do I have cancer? Like, is this turning into cancer? And then that just scares you. And when you get scared, when you get anxiety, your brain just goes, exactly, I need to relieve this anxiety. But the screwed up thing, and this goes to anyone listening, should get the book by Alan Carr, The Easy Way. The only anxiety that you're alleviating is the anxiety of wanting to use that substance. So like you get anxious about fearing your health and you say like, okay, I'm going to go relax myself by chewing more. But the only thing you're relaxing is that anxiety that was created in relation to wanting to chew, the anxiety from the craving. So it's really screwed up. So the anxiety of you developing cancer never went away. Like that never went away. It just it temporarily got sidetracked and overpowered by the anxiety of wanting that next hit. You got that next hit of nicotine, and then now things are temporarily okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say that's interesting too, and a little bit on a different aspect. But I've heard like Tony Robbins talk about too that when people say cigarettes relieve their stress, a lot of times it's because you're going out like outside, taking deep breaths of something. If you were to still go outside, take the deep breaths without the cigarette, you'd still have some type of stress relief from the break and the, like a mini meditation almost. And that made a lot of sense too. Like, sure,
I like a lot of Tony Robbins stuff on addiction. I like a lot of his stuff. No,
I've even noticed that at the restaurant when I quit smoking, it was when I smoked, it was totally acceptable to go outside once an hour to smoke or whatever. When I quit, you're almost looked at different, like, where are you going? And I'm like, I'm going out for my smoke break. Like, whether I smoke or not, I still deserve my 5 minutes outside,
Sure, of course.
But it's this weird, dynamic or kind of how it's viewed, because the non-smokers usually don't go out, the smokers do.
No, the non-smokers usually don't go out. And more often than not, you just said something even weirder. And this is what I hate about nicotine. Like, it's generally speaking accepted. Like, oh, there goes, there goes Kyle. He's just having his smoke break. Like, but then you go to take a fresh breath air break and everyone's like, oh, what the fuck, is he being lazy? What's he doing? So
exactly.
But like, imagine this, like, imagine just flip the drug. Like, imagine if you were just going outside to take like a heroin break or like a cocaine break. People would be like, what are you, nuts? Like, you can't do that. Like, so that's one of the problems with nicotine addiction is it's so accepted, even though it's not, even though like it is frowned upon, I guess, big picture, it is widely accepted. And I think that's what makes it in particularly dangerous. Like the slow build of the health consequences, the general acceptance of things. I don't know. So the thing too is when it comes to energy, you were talking about more energy. And I think you got to remember when you're addicted to nicotine, you're going through withdrawals every probably half hour in your case with that use, probably every half hour. Withdrawals will start to kick in. Nicotine will leave your body. Withdrawals will start to kick in. You get a craving and now you got to get those withdrawals to back off. So you use again. And you imagine that's a roller coaster ride of energy levels. Like, so here you are, you get your hit of nicotine. It's adrenaline, norepinephrine. You get that dopamine flood. Boom, you're up. 30 minutes later, you're going down. Dopamine is pumped out of your brain, sends you up again. You get that adrenaline rush, fight or flight response kicks in. You go down again. And then boom, that's why I'm, and I can relate right back to myself. That was me
Yeah.
sitting at home on an afternoon, taking a crap because I have so much nicotine in my body and then falling asleep afterwards. Like, so that's
I've heard you say that in so many videos on online, on TikTok and others, and that is just, that hit me like a ton of bricks when you said that, because I didn't know the science behind it, but damn, is that accurate?
And dude, I just see you and like anyone, this is anyone with an addiction. I really believe it. Like your YouTube is popping. Like it really is, man. I look at your videos and your growth on there, and like you are doing very well. I don't know if you know that for YouTube. Like just like your YouTube is like legitimate.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think you could grow. Do you know who CJ the Kid is?
Yeah, of course.
I think you could be equally, I think you could go farther than that, to be honest. Because you get big hits on your YouTube videos, man, for like, all your videos are over 1,000 views from what I saw, like comfortably over 1,000. For me to even get like a sliver ahead on YouTube, I had to post literally like, I think I have like 170 videos on there. I'm like crawling to try and get traction on there. Whereas yours is just popping. So like, I imagine like if you just had more energy and it just went into that, like I could, like realistically, that probably would be a full-time thing for you in the not so distant future. And it's like, man, I know too, for like something else too. So say you get a craving to vape. What if every time you got a craving to vape, you popped on a YouTube video of how to grow my YouTube channel and you just started learning like, just you took 30 minutes, took your mind off of the craving and just watched a video how to grow my YouTube. Or like you just watched, what if you just watched like, a bunch of CJ the Kid videos and then put a little different spin on his related to your own story and just tried to recreate those big videos he had with now the expertise that you built in developing your whatever, your thumbnail, your tagline, whatever it is you learn. I could just only fathom. And then obviously too, you said clarity, that takes an insane amount of mental clarity, like to be able to piece all that together. So I don't know. That's my thought when I talk to you about vaping.
No, that is a great point.
And then the structure, that would be the other really big thing that you would need, because you said something super important, man. And I talk to people about this all the time when it comes to quitting nicotine. Like not having structure it's the death of me. Like I know like the moment in my life I don't have structure, I'm probably headed down a bad path. Yeah. So especially in like working for yourself, like if you want to jerk it all day long, you can. Like there's nothing stopping you. So it's like I don't know how you'll what your structure will look like, man, but like I think structure for you is going to be so crucial. So like maybe you wake up and you work out or you make your food and then you research quitting, maybe then you research how to grow your YouTube channel, then maybe you shoot a YouTube video, then maybe you edit it for 3 or 4 hours, and then maybe, I don't know what your day looks like, but some type of like level playing field. Because you said that's what played a huge role in your sobriety before. And I think that's probably going to play a huge role in your ability to quit vaping too.
I appreciate that. And that is so dead on with, I mean, I even see it now. I have certain weeks I've had off like Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, and I've only worked 4 days. And the days that I have off, if I don't have some type of plan or schedule, I could come in here and next thing I know, 3 hours went by and I dicked around checking analytics and watching 3 old Mad TV things and this and just wasted my time. And I'm vaping the whole time or whatever, chewing. And then next thing I know, a 12-hour day goes by and I'm like, what did you do besides send a couple emails and check your analytics 100 times? Then the days where I like, okay, 10 to 12, you're editing a website article. 12 to 2, you're doing this. you know, and it's like they go so much better. Just insane with a schedule that is stuck to, you know. Yeah.
It's huge. And you just repeat that over and over and over and over and over again. And then hopefully it gets momentum. And then, you know, boom, then
Yeah.
I think you're well on your way to quitting then. Yeah, that structure is huge. I was gonna see if there was something else too. No, those were kind of the big
Can I ask
go
you a
ahead.
question?
Yeah.
So I've seen an addiction doctor for years. She, you know, has always said to me, you know, when you're ready or whenever you want to, about like nicotine replacement with the gum or the mints. How do you feel about that? And I have the ability to get them anytime I need, if I choose.
First thing, have you tried them before?
Not with any serious intent. No.
So that's cool. So that's like a new thing. So that's different. Like that's a change. So I would say in your case, like that's probably, I'd say go for it. Now, my thing is, and again, this goes to that book, like download that book, The Easy Way or Get It by Alan Carr. But, you know, one of the big things in there is, and this goes to the same thing with the vape too, man. Like I tried Nicorette gum, and then all I wound up doing was using Nicorette gum when I couldn't chew and I couldn't vape. So now it was just Nicorette gum. And honestly, I didn't like how it made me feel. I mean, I didn't like it. And here's my problem with it, I guess. And for a lot of people, this does work. So I'm not against it at all. My opinion would be try it. You've never tried it before, and there's no harm in trying it. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. And then you just say, okay, I know that's not the right path to quitting for me. That really didn't work. Assuming you approach it with like a serious intent. But my problem with that is when you consume nicotine, you have billions more nicotine receptors in your brain than someone who doesn't. And if you're continuing with the Nicorette gum, you're continuing to feed those nicotine receptors. So those things are what are screaming at you, that addictive voice, to go continue to use nicotine. So as long as those nicotine receptors are alive, as long as you continue to feed them, you're going to have them screaming at you that you need nicotine. But you can starve those. Like I remember when I quit nicotine, I viewed it as like, I am going to starve these little motherfuckers, like all 1 billion of them. Like they are just going to slowly starve.
I like that a lot.
And I'm going to enjoy every second of it. Like, and that's how I like, kind of psychotic. Nicotine withdrawal will not kill a person. It's annoying, but it won't kill a person. And for me, I was like, I'm gonna embrace the hell out of this, because these are these little bastards just dying, and screw them. So
I can relate to that.
Right. Like
my sponsor always taught me, like, when you get a craving for heroin, talk shit to it. Like, you are not going to get me. I'm going to kick your ass.
Dude, do the same thing with nicotine. It's literally just a matter of, for a lot of times, and for me, it took me so long. It's literally just a matter of pausing and saying like, okay, I want to hit my vape. No, pause. And like you said, talk shit to it. Like, no, I don't actually want to do that. What I actually want to do is have more energy and more mental clarity, because I don't want to be working at this job as a chef for the time being. I want to be creating a YouTube channel so I can impact thousands of other people to get sober and make a good living in the meantime. So you compare that sentence that takes 1 minute to say out loud to yourself, just put that buffer in between use and vape, right? Like just put that buffer in between. But the tricky thing is, that's the hardest part, is like it's easy to just like not say that to yourself and then like go pack a chew or something. So the important part is like taking the time to have that conversation. I know, man, too. I watch, like, I get very, like you mentioned, Tony Robbins. I like all that stuff. Like, I still, even in my car, like, people ask me if I get cravings. Like, if I'm on a long car ride, I'll still, like, it will cross my mind, especially for the chewing tobacco. I'll put on like I listen to like Motivation Hub on YouTube,
Yeah.
Motivation University, and I'll just listen to some of those guys talking, like Denzel Washington, Tony Robbins. Who's that guy, like Dodge Hopkins or whoever, that Navy SEAL guy that did like all
Oh, David Goggins.
David Goggins.
Yeah.
Like I'll listen to all their stuff, and that just gets me, like, it snaps me out of it. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll be like, no, dude, stop, shut up. Like that's that. No,
Yeah.
like, and then so I don't know, maybe that's something too. And literally anytime, like I'll just pull it up in my car at night. In the morning, I typically start my mornings with one of those things. And that's not even so much for the addiction. That's just because I think when you're in business for yourself, it can get very challenging. Like it can get so depressing. So, yeah, so I don't know. So I use those things to keep me like excited and going. I'm trying to think what else here. So that's my opinion on that stuff. Oh, Alan Carr, to answer your question, his big thing is when you do that, you use Nicorette gum, you're under the impression that you're giving something up. And that's really what vaping was. Vaping was the idea that you're giving up smoking, that you're giving up something that you value. And the reality is, man, maybe except for right now, maybe with the exception of chewing tobacco for you, you don't value anything in your vape. Like you're not giving up anything. You're obviously getting your energy, your time, your mental clarity, and your physical health back. So why would you want to, like, you're not sacrificing anything.
I see. Okay.
That's the big Alan Carr thing. So his thing is, if you're using Nicorette gum, you're under the impression, or you're creating this mindset that you've made a sacrifice. When the truth about nicotine is, you're not giving up anything. This is you're not getting rid of anything.
You're still using nicotine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same drug. It's just packaged differently. Whether it's packaged, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, my argument to that would be if I'm a hardcore smoker and I move to the gum, I mean, the health benefits are clearly there.
100%. Yeah, that you could totally counter that argument with like harm reduction. 100%. Just like you could, I think, with any I've seen, I can't talk enough about other drugs, but I would assume like what Suboxone is to other things, or I don't know exactly, but yeah, and that is a completely valid argument. And it does work. Like, that's the thing too. Like, there's people who quit who do it successfully with gum. There's people who quit who have gone successfully to the nicotine pouches, like the Zen pouches. I just wound up mixing all that shit together constantly. That was my problem. So like I couldn't do it. But some people it really is. But yeah, no, completely agreed. Even if in theory you chewed Nicorette gum for the rest of your life, that would presumably be better than doing a 10 a day or a 10 every other day of tobacco. Yeah. So
according to Alan Carr, you are still using the drug of nicotine.
And then I would take that a step further and say, is it still impacting you in a negative way? That would be my thing. Okay. Like if you're like in my world, if you're happy chewing Nicorette gum and you're not really that concerned about the health consequences, or they're not on your radar, then do it. Like if you're getting everything done, like you got your energy up, you got your mental clarity up. And some people would come on and argue like, oh, nicotine can be nootropic, like, which it is. Like it is. That's true. Like it does create that temporary alertness and stuff. But in my opinion, long term, I think it's more just a distraction because fucking exercise is a nootropic too. Like getting fresh air is, you know what I mean? People always jump to like, well, you know, cocaine really wakes you up. Yeah, a lot of people wake up. So there's a cold shower. And then, so, you know, I forgot what I was saying, but I think, so I got sidetracked, but I was saying something about Nicorette gum. I don't remember, but yeah. So harm reduction, my thing would be is if you're accomplishing everything you want to do, that's great. But if you still feel like shit from the drug, then what did you really accomplish? If you're still spending all your money on this, you're still spending all your energy on it, it's still clouding your mental clarity. Yeah, you saved your health, but like, did you really care about that much in the first place? Like, you know, your
Yeah.
big thing when I talked to you was when I asked you why you wanted to quit, you said it's draining my energy, my mental clarity. You know, you didn't necessarily say like, oh, I'm super worried about my health. So, um, uh, yeah. And I see some people in the comments saying like, yeah, every time I tried nicotine replacement, I just incorporated it into smoking, vaping,
Yeah.
whatever. So,
Yeah, I think that's a common. I could relate to that too. That's why I said not seriously. The couple times I've tried it, I tried the mints, and it was like, okay, I'm having mint instead of chew, and then I would vape a little bit later, and then okay, I'll have the mint, but then I still had a little chew later. But also with different drugs like Suboxone, you mentioned, you know, during my addiction days I couldn't get heroin. Oh, Suboxone gets rid of my withdrawal. And I even did it that way. I think it is an amazing drug that has saved thousands, probably millions of people's lives. But like almost anything, there's a bad side to it where I couldn't find any money today. Boom, I take my Suboxone. I'm not in withdrawal. Tomorrow I'll worry about getting heroin. And it's
that
still almost a substitute, you know?
so that's interesting because it's like to me, would that foreshadow? Could that be like a foreshadowing of what might happen with Nicorette gum? I don't know. Time will tell. You know, like I don't know. Like I just say, you know,
Interesting.
anytime I talk to someone about quitting, I'm like, think about when you've tried to quit before. What
Sure.
did you do? And why didn't it work? And then they'll give me these reasons, what they did before and why it didn't work. And I'll say, okay, we're not going to repeat that thing again. So like, it's like, okay, we're not going to try that way again. Now,
Yeah.
minus the Nicorette gum, because you said with a serious intent of quitting, which is
Yeah.
different than just nonchalantly doing it,
Yeah.
obviously. But yeah, I do
Almost
tell
like
people,
reverse engineering it, and then okay, that didn't work, so let's cut that out. That's beautiful. Yeah,
let's cut. That's exactly it. And a lot of times people are like, well, I never really truly tried like hard cold turkey. That's usually the one thing that people really didn't try. Usually it's like I tried vaping to quit smoking. I
yeah,
tried nicotine pouches to quit this. I tried lozenges. I tried a Nicorette inhaler. I tried, and I'm like, okay, so all those things didn't work. So the only thing left is cold turkey. And
yeah,
like, you know, so and even for me, you know, I quit everything right around the same time, but like I get like, you know, your goal is to get rid of the vape first and then maybe the chew comes after. Like I get that. I do think it will organically just kind of happen in that way. Um
I also
so
think
yeah.
though there could be a good possibility that you know I either just decide or it works out where it gets to you know a time you know maybe mentally or whatever. I say I'm going to do it all. Is there can be a big part of it too that is like you know you've mentioned in a couple different ways where with that mindset everything comes in, I'm talking shit to it like I'm done and I'm gonna go all of it cold turkey and you know.
It- and I think then that's where, and this is where I think like it's so cool talking to people because okay, so that's hard. Like at the end of the day, that's hard to do. Like I talk about, I'm like it's a mindset change, but like it's still hard. Like for a lot of people, like for me, it's hard. You know, it was hard, and I think then that's where it draws in to what you're doing in like YouTube and things. So then, like, okay, now you make a YouTube video and you think it's gonna be a banger, and it just fucking tanks, and you're like, this is my income now. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, how am I gonna deal with this? I I feel like when you quit an addiction, even what you've already gone through, take the nicotine out of it, just pulling
Sure.
strength from what you've already gone through. I feel like you can draw from that experience and say, like, no, it's okay. I've dealt with X, Y, and Z challenging things before, and I figured it out. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
quit. I didn't give up. So then, boom, you're back making 2, 3, 4 more YouTube videos. Boom, changing up the thumbnail 10 times until you get that video to hit.
Yeah.
As compared to for me, when I had nicotine, it just became like a coping mechanism. That was
Yeah.
like something wouldn't go my way or something wouldn't go right. And then that would make me feel like, you know, more comfortable. And it kind of gets me stuck in this comfort zone. But
Yeah.
nicotine isn't really a comfortable place to be stuck in, but it feels like it is. So I don't know. So yeah, I feel like quitting, especially cold turkey, if you can look back and say like, I fucking pulled that off. I did that.
Yeah.
I like tell that to myself now when I'm facing like a business challenge or whatever challenge in my life. I'm like, that was hard. Can I just take that same mindset now and use it in another area of my life? So I tried to turn addiction into like a superpower. You know, that's how I
Yeah.
say it a lot. Like I turn it into like a superpower. Like,
That's super interesting and so cool that you do that. Such a good point. It's funny you bring that up because I've been doing that with myself lately with solitary. Like sitting here, I'd be like nervous about the move in a couple, in a week or two, like, you're going to be able to survive financially, or like some mini situation came up at work. I get in an argument with somebody, and I would tell myself, like, you were locked in a room, for a year, scratching the walls out, going insane. If you could get through that, this argument at work is nothing. Come on, this is great problems to have today.
dude,
I would change the wording a little bit, but like,
yes,
there's people that would kill to have these problems today,
Yes, not only like I can only imagine. I've watched some of your things on solitary that you posted and stuff, and that's intense. Like I remember some of your early TikTok. I couldn't even fathom that. So this is like, so talking to you, my thing would be like, dude, you were in solitary confinement. Like you can quit nicotine. Like I don't know what nicotine addiction is putting you through, but I know like it's not. And there is no way it's more challenging than that. There's no way. And if it is, it's those nicotine receptors in your brain lying to you. Like that is that addictive voice lying to you. If you are led to believe that quitting vaping is harder than what you did in solitary, that is that addictive voice lying to you, and you need to tell it to go fuck off. Because that
no
is
way
not,
it is.
There's no way it is. It can't be. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Like I've never been in solitary, but like I don't even want to try that.
No.
So
nothing I've ever experienced was harder than that. But on a side note too, I love the receptor thing. I'm envisioning it and talking shit to them, and just that's fascinating too. But yeah, there's no way it's harder.
it can't be. So I don't know. So yeah, there's so many good things here, man. I don't know. I'm excited for you. I think you're damn close to quitting. I think there's a few things to keep in mind, but I think you're so close, man, based on this. I don't know. Do you got any other questions for me? That's kind of the most that I would have to say.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wanted to ask you about the replacement and those things. But no, I've been, jotting down my little notes here too. You have so much awesome knowledge on this, and for just for a different video, I also would love to talk to you. I love how you talk about the pre-workout stuff.
Oh yeah,
and even like porn addiction. I know so many people. I mean, of all ages, but specifically that 30 and under men who, damn, are they addicted to it? And I could relate,
dude. That's a tough one. We grew up with that. Like that was just a thing that like I don't know. Like I grew up in an age of like phones. Well, close to, by the time I was in, I don't know, I want to say maybe college or late high school. I don't remember, but smartphones, like the moment smartphones hit the scene, like that was a thing. Shit, back when LimeWire was a thing. That had hit the scene, but it's a huge, that's one I have fun talking about. It's a huge, and it's all the same. Here's my thing. Like here's my bigger thing. Like, especially now for like the direction you're heading and you'll go there, like the whole working for yourself and creating your own thing, like all that stuff. I made a video on the other day. It just trains you to be a consumer. Like, here, consume our garbage pre-workout, consume our garbage vape, consume our garbage nicotine, consume this garbage pornography. And then I'm just left going through my day, just brain dead, just consuming, not actually producing
fire.
And that's what I hate. Like, that's why I hate like vaping. That's why I like don't watch porn anymore. It's not because like I don't not want to. Like, sure, like people want to do that. I get it. Like it's normal. Like that's you're human. Like you're turned on by things. But it's like I don't want to consume garbage anymore. If I'm doing something with my time, I want to be producing content. I want to be helping people. I want to be doing things that make me feel good. And all day long, we're trained nowadays to partake in shit that makes us feel like garbage. And I refuse to be a part of that. I refuse to be a part of that. So
That is fire. That is so fire. And
right, like
oh man, and out of the the fighter in Kyle and the I'm like, screw them. I so agree, and like I'm getting amped up. And I saw one. I think it was your video a couple weeks ago about like every choice is an investment. Every choice I make now is somehow an investment in my life in the future. If I dick off tomorrow, that's gonna pay off negatively in a week versus, and it's just so true. Man.
I got another video saved in drafts, and I learned this one from someone else, but I put it together too. And this, like what we do now, we're both in our 30s. So like what we do now with our health is like, I can see the future. Like if I keep chewing tobacco at the rate that I was, I'll probably have some type of cancer complication in my 40s or 50s. Now, that's not to say, imagine this though, you know what the worst thing would be is? The worst thing would be is probably when I'm in my 40s is when I'm in my late 30s is probably when my addiction stuff is really going to take off. So like, how shitty would that be? Right as you start to hit your prime and then boom, your legs get chopped off. You know what I mean? So like, it's an investment. Like I said, it's a shitty investment. Like it's an investment that's just going to take and take and take from you. And then when nicotine is done taking from you, if there's people close to you, it will start to take from them. God forbid something happens to your health, but if it does and you're hospitalized or you're going through cancer treatments, like your family, I don't know if you're close to your family, but whomever you're close to, they're going to be the ones having to deal with all that shit. Just like when you've had trouble before. So it's like nicotine just fucking doesn't stop taking from a person. I remember a day I had to go to an emergency dental exam because I wouldn't stop bleeding. And it turned out I had like a kernel in my mouth or something stupid. But naturally I was like, from popcorn, but I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is cancer. Like I knew it. Like, this is it. So like I go in, so I call my dentist, and this was like after quitting, because this was not long ago. This was just pre-COVID, which I quit for longer than that now, but it was like right at the beginning of COVID. And all the dentist offices were closed here in New York. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. It's the bleeding isn't stopping. Like I'm freaking out. He's like, you're probably fine. Don't worry about it. Like you had dental x-rays not long ago. You're fine. No, I got to see you. He's like, well, the only day I can see you is Saturday. And there's an emergency fee for the visit. And we're probably going to do x-rays, and you're going to have to pay for that out of pocket. I look at my Saturday and it's totally booked up, but I'm terrified. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go see him. Fuck my schedule. So I call my receptionist. I text my patients. I cancel all my patients, one of whom goes and finds another chiropractor to go see because they were in pain. I miss out on that entire day of money. Now I'm spending emergency money to go see my dentist. That was like a $275 visit. Then I had to go pay for a CT scan out of pocket, which was $500 because they thought they saw something in the x-ray, but it just turned out to be older x-ray equipment. So it was like just a shadowing problem. So just my point is, like, no one fucking told me when I was chewing tobacco that 6 years later, this would be another thing that cost me. It wasn't just $10 on that tin. That was a day full of patients and then money out of my pocket for an emergency visit and a CT and a lost patient to someone else. So people, so I guess just like, I don't know.
A week of anxiety. I mean, so much more added on. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. I didn't even talk. Yeah. You know the feeling, an entire week of thinking I have just that was it. I thought I had oral cancer. Like I thought for sure I did. So, yeah, man, like I just don't, I don't want to deal with that. Like I have other things I have to do in life before I die. And
Yeah.
doing that is not one of them. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't want to be doing that. Someone else can go do that. And you know, man, you're like a competitive person, and so am I. And I think too, to a large extent, and this is, I tell people like, there's a lot of people now, and I get this from, this was a lot of like Grant Cardone. I like some of his stuff talking about this. Um, and I really do like I know my competition is out there somewhere not doing a live right now because they might be watching porn. I know my competition is out there somewhere right now drinking heavily, and I feel bad for that person. Like I want to help them. That's the point of my company. But I know at the same time a lot of people are going to get sucked into things in the future, whether it's social media addiction, pornography addiction, video game addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. And the way I see it is, that's just, they're no longer in the running to compete with me on whatever it is I'm trying to do. That's one less person that's going to be my competition as a chiropractor. That's one less person that's going to be my competition online. And I want everyone to excel. That's literally my business, is trying to help that person because I believe they're an unbelievable individual and I don't want to see them do that. But I know reality is a lot of people won't get ahead. Like a lot of people just, they won't. Like, I don't even know if I will when I'm in my 40s and 50s. Like I'm trying like hell to. I don't know if I will, but I hope I do.
You will. Yeah,
and
I know you will.
I just, that's my thing. Like, I don't want to be part of that anymore. Like, I don't want to be part of the consumer crowd. I want to be part of the producer crowd. And I want to take as many people as I can from that crowd and have them do the same thing. Like, I want to help as many people as I can in the process. And I want them to do better than me. Like, you know what I mean? Because that makes me feel good. But there is this reality that your competition, you know, like it's dwindling. Like, and I talk to a lot of kids in college now and I tell them, they're like, Dr. Frank, everyone has a weed pen. Everyone's watching porn. Everyone's doing this. And I'm like, this is your opportunity then at the very least to get ahead of everyone else. Like, don't make the mistakes they're making. Don't make the mistakes that I made when I was your age. And then you're not going to have to be rebuilding your credit at 30 and trying to get a few $1,000s in your savings account, and which I'm still building that. Like, it's still jacked up from years of messing up. So I don't know.
That's fire. That's such a good point. All of it.
Yeah.
So true.
Good, man. This was fun.
Absolutely. Definitely.
This was fun. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm excited to to do this again. Hopefully tomorrow night everything works out. But then in the future too, there's so much fascinating stuff that just, like you said, it unfortunately it's just gonna be more people. But if even anybody watching this, I got notes here of just great stuff that I got written down from you telling me that I'm going to use. So the video helped the person, and I'm sure other people, got stuff too. But this, awesome talking to you. So glad to finally talk. Get so many duets and stuff back and forth.
We'll meet up at some point because you're in. You're not far. You're Rochester or Syracuse or somewhere, right?
Rochester,
At some point, I'll shoot over that way and we'll collaborate on some things, I think.
You're outside of Buffalo, right?
I'm right in Buffalo, like a suburb in Buffalo, but right in Buffalo. Yeah.
I might actually be making that trip in a couple weeks. I would obviously let you know ahead of time. Yeah, it's an hour, 15-minute drive. It's nothing.
It's close. That would be fun. And then, as we were talking too, I want to get you again too for a video, one that I don't go into a lot, but I do want to get hear about your experiences with Adderall. That's a hot topic. And I think that would be, do you have a YouTube video on that?
I got a couple. Yeah.
You do? Okay. I got to check those out. I got to look at those. That's something I'd love to do a live on. Anyways. All right, man. Listen, I'll let you go. Thank you for taking the time.
Of course. Thank you.
Guys, if you're looking for Kyle, it's Sober Dogs YouTube, Sober Dogs, TikTok. Mine is Doc Frank here, TikTok, Addiction Mindset, YouTube, and Instagram. classic mistake using different usernames across the platform. But it happens. Anyways,
Yeah.
all right, man. We'll be in touch tomorrow. Okay.
Thanks, Doc. Awesome.
I had
Thank
fun.
you,
Thanks, man.
everybody.
No, thank you too, man. Thank you. Keep helping
Of
people.
course.
Thanks. Bye.
See ya.